of said last night, because that.
Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research, because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda. All right, good evening, legends. How are you? Here we are on the dawn of what they're telling us is up to us to pick our direction tomorrow. Well, I think most people watching this channel would know that we ain't about to pick anything, that they've already selected what's going on. And, yeah, they've run a two-horse race. But, look, there's only a couple of small outsiders in it, as far as I'm concerned anyway. So let's watch the steel, guys, because what we're hearing out there is that a lot of people don't want to vote for the two major parties. We're going to go and have a look tomorrow, because I've heard a few people are out there that I know that are actually doing the handing out pamphlets and that. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a walk out to one of the booths here tomorrow and have a look in the afternoon. But, yeah, guys, we're on the precipice of, more New World Order. That's all I know, because that's what's going to keep happening until we actually get this shit together. So around the traps, guys, in the mainstream, we got the ABCs really going off. It's got a thing called Verify. It looks at misleading claims from dodgy polls. So, we know the polls are dodgy. They're trying to talk us, hung parliament, this, that, and the other. Anyway, tomorrow we'll find out our fate, guys. Now, New Zealand, I said they had bad weather over there. They had a 6.2 Richter, 2 this afternoon, I heard. But state of emergency over there, same as us, guys. The manipulated weather is absolutely hammering most people. Now, this I found interesting, because you could always, when I was younger, a lot of people I knew went over to West Isles, and I go, "What do you go there for?" They went, "Oh man, it's so cheap." Well, even Western Australia now, renters on income support priced out of Western Australia, a report finds. So Western Australia was one of the best places to be able to live, guys, as I knew it, cheapest, and not any longer. Next. All right, so here we got Chris Bowen. I'm not even going to say what his reaction was. He reacts to Spain and Portugal power outages. Well, it's funny. I think it was Spain just went 100% a few weeks ago. Yeah, went 100% renewable. And here we go. This is what happens. So, yeah, Bowen, you want to take a look at it? But we know you won't, because you've been paid to do what you got to do, mate. Right, all the salmon farming and crap that we've been, the poison salmon, every bit of salmon you buy out there, guys, is not good, okay? It's mostly farm salmon. But here they are wanting to put more in. Future Macquarie Harbour still being considered. It's just unreal. They're just, continuing on their merry way. Fresh poll warning for Albo and Dutto, hung Parliament. Well, we'll see. We'll see. And some driver's license changes. So if anyone's driving on an international license out there, guys, just be very careful, because they're cracking down on them, and they're coming at you. So, all right. So tonight we've got Cole, a sociologist, on, and Caz, obviously. And I got no idea what we're going to be talking about. Probably Cole's dodgy camera, but we won't go there at the moment. But how you going, Cole? What's happening?
Mate, I'm well. Same dodgy camera. You might recall a few years ago, I described as one doesn't always enter the hard times when they're best sneakers and well fed and well clothed. I came into it with a very old car and a very old cheap laptop, and not much money. And here I am, same car, same laptop, and less money.
Maybe you should ring Monica and get a few tips off her, mate. Yeah.
Well, I saw David O'Neig's today. Dave O'Neig's, if you're watching, you can explain to me why I was kicked off your channel the other day, champion.
You're asking questions again. You're not asking questions again, are you, Cole?
I'm not allowed to talk about their friends, it seems. I was questioning a number of things. I was questioning the money that goes missing. I was questioning the fact that and I've known this for some time because of Pastor Paul, Robert Burton, and others, that a private prosecution is very hard to mount in this country, Victoria or otherwise, same rules in Victoria, because the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution, can assume control of the case. Then what they generally do is close it down, saying it's got no prospect for success, not enough evidence, or they just say nothing further to add, Your Honour. From that point, literally, next sentence, happened to Paul Robert Burton. I tried to mount this to assert this to Monica Schmidt. She doesn't like me very much. I've tried to make friends with these people, but it seems like the friendly tactic doesn't work much, because 2 years later, after me trying the friendly approach, and I was getting somewhere, in the end, they just they shut you down. They protect their friends, and most of all, they protect their habits. And can I just reel into it now, Dave? You got any other questions, or should I just?
Yeah, you go for it, mate. You rip into it. What are you and Caz got organised? I don't even know, mate.
I haven't got anything organised. You can't organise anything with Cole.
Shit, mate. Go for it.
Well, you know me. It's everything. It's everything. Sociology is meant to be a GAZE, gaze, a perception of all things. So that's economics, philosophy, religion, society, culture. Everything. Biology, science, physical science, social sciences, and it's very difficult. Law. I took an extreme interest in law, because good law. Remember, bad men and women will make something horrible out of anything. They can do it with religion. They can do it with a puppy. They can beat you up with a puppy at Christmas. They'll use it as a bludgeon. Bad humans will exploit and pollute anything. For all the people trashing communists out there, you can probably do with a bit more of it. No, I'm not a communist. I'm not. What's his name? What's that little frother drunk guy that you guys like sometimes? John Wilson. I see John Wilson's hanging out with Aussie Cossack. Okay, so I want everyone to consider something. I call it the single incriminating element, right? So everyone's seen a movie where a policeman or a bad policeman, and there are good coppers, but there's plenty of bad ones too. Like I said, bad humans are everywhere. A policeman, in order to get an arrest on someone they can't find any impetus for, they place drugs or something on them, right? So it's an incriminating element. Now, an incriminating element can be something you say. It's language. I was first throwing this at Ricardo Bossi about 5 years ago, saying, well, look, it's the language of sedition and incitement. He just wasn't aware of the law. A lot of people weren't. I was trying to show them the law, how easy it is to be done for terrorism. If you praise an act of terrorism, then you are guilty of terrorism in this country. They supercharged the Criminal Code 1995, guys. It doesn't matter if you don't believe in statutory law or legislation. It's not going to stop the guys in black armour kicking your door in, putting you away. So the single incriminating element can be an element that of law that breaks law. It can be something that activates state of emergency laws, which is what I was saying to John Wilson many years ago when he, foolishly decided to pick a fight with me. Now he's out there with Aussie Cossack that's inviting people to take the side of a country with whom Australia is in at least a proxy war with. That's going up close to treason. So guys, watch out. Be careful. Single incriminating element. Sometimes single incriminating element can be sought to see you locked up, or it might be sought to discredit you. Because in the end, division, and let's use the devil as a metaphor. I'll use the devil as a metaphor, for the Christians out there. I'm still open-minded. So I don't mind talking about the devil as if the devil were real, and maybe he is. If it's a he, hey, let's face it, it's probably non-binary. So the devil, as a metaphor, seeks fear and confusion, does he not? Right? Now, confusion can be frustration, as in I can frustrate my hair by making it messy. I can frustrate some electrical lines, by making them messy. Or they can frustrate a court case. They can frustrate a person. They can frustrate a narrative. So one of the main tricks that the so-called freedom movement, some of these leaders that, saw the largest body of movement of Australians in history frustrated in Canberra, sent them home. Go home and come back in a month. Who said that? Was that Dave O'Neig's as well? I don't want to go hard on O'Neig's because I actually don't mind the fella. I don't mind that he believes in citizen journalism. I don't mind that he believes in masculinity and making men strong and hard and fit again. That's good. I don't agree on a lot of other things he says, but I'd rather keep the peace. Another thing I said on his channel the other day, and sorry to jump around, folks. I said on Dave O'Neig's channel, 45,000 people on Telegram. I said, look, we were talking about Dr. William Bay and making various allegations against Rod Cullerton. Who knows? I said, look, it's very easy for the bad guys to play with the post because they want to split people up and they break them up more and more. Because before there was digital messaging, there was physical messaging still around. Where do you think the MI5 and MI6 like to have their home base? The post office. Go back 100 years. It's the post office. How else are you going to keep track? Yeah? And telephones weren't what they are today. So I said, look, I raised the possibility. I said, let's have the possibility that Collerton, because we've had Dr. Bay saying that he wasn't getting certain things in the mail or other people. Well, maybe they were tampered with. Very easy. Now, Dr. Bay, like many people, maybe even like myself for a few years there, is PTSD. So people jump to 11. They reach straight for the flamethrower. If you're not with me, you must be against me. I'm going to burn you with a flamethrower. And into him went. However, Dr. Bay has made mistakes. Everyone is a flawed character. He may have won in court, which is great. But he also said that he had a high court decision when the High Court had actually deferred to see his case on the grounds that it wasn't met with a reasonable prospect of success. He made the claim that he'd set case law. Now, that can be a mistake, but people make mistakes. So maybe he's making mistakes about Cullerton. It also is clear that he put Gerard Rennick first on a card he himself was meant to be running on. You don't put someone before yourself. So there's that. Doesn't mean he's controlled opposition. Maybe he is. So we just look at the variables. As Sherlock Holmes says, you don't start with a theory and then make the facts fit. You start with the facts and you form a theory. And everything's still theoretical, right? We don't know how much has been tampered with. Sometimes we catch them. If you look at Monica Schmidt for 5 years, maybe she's having a crack, but in the end, and I want everyone to understand something here, I call it intent and function. Just consider it like a mathematical equation, like hypotenuse or, pi. And, working out the area of a triangle. And it's a bit triangular, this stuff. Intent and function. So someone can say what their intention is. Now, they might mean it. Or it's rhetoric. So there's two kinds of intention. One, the authentic intent. I intend to do this. I intend to help farmers. I intend to, get into Parliament, whatever. And then there's the rhetoric, as in, I intend to help Australians, says Anthony Albanese. Or someone else says, I intend to, for low-cost housing, I'm going to bring in 1.3 million skilled migrants. So there's function. So function is, how are they actually functioning? They may intend, they put out a slogan, but how are they functioning? So let's grade the so-called freedom movement and some of these guys that are in it, none of whom have made a significant victory. The people that make significant victories, you never hear about from this clique. They tell you about each other, but they don't tell you about the real victories. There are real victories in court, guys. They don't tell you about the professors. They don't tell you about the deans of law from universities that are kicking up a stink because the government keeps putting politicians in charge of universities as the vice chancellors. And the vice chancellors committee, upon which we've got people like Maurice Payne, ex-minister for defence, nasty lady, Bill Shorten, Julie Bishop, speaking of nasty ladies, they're on the AVCC, the Australian Vice Chancellors Committee. If you want to do research, therefore create data in this country, whether it's physical science, so chemistry, physics, or social science, as in, behavioural research, etc., you have to go via the AVCC. If they don't approve your research, it's not considered valid. It's the same trick. It's the same trick that the Peer Review Council will use. So, as you may have seen in, say, the Brad Hazard case with Tony Nikolic, right? Who I'm in two minds about. I hear lots about Tony Nikolic. We'll talk about intent and function again with him in a minute. We've had his case, and in the end, it got down to what was her name? Christine McCarthy, Dr. Christine McCarthy. She was for the defence, which was protecting Brad Hazard. So in the end, they had peer review, and it was like a poker game. She had the full house, and the other guys, they walked in with some very credible independent evidence, didn't have peer review. In the end, peer review won the day because the court are not scientists. They can just go on the hierarchy. They do a grade. And they go, well, you know what? They've got the blue ribbon of science, and that's why you'll see on my channel, and I just try to send it out there. Half the time I don't put my name on my research. Why? Because people like Monica Schmidt and that won't share it otherwise. If they don't know it comes from me, they might share it. If they know it comes from me, they suppress it. And why would you suppress it? So I've been following who's called the NHMRC, the National Health Medical Review Council. This is from whom and a bunch of other interlocking little bodies who nominates the Peer Review Council. So people don't understand that peer review isn't just a process. It's not like saying, it's like a certain grade, like judging how hot a chili is. It's not that. It's a political process. You need to be seen by peer review for them to judge your peer review. Then, of course, they put their own favourite scientists on there. Now, if you go back into the NHMRC, you see people like those consultancy firms. Do you guys know who consultancy firms are? This is KPMG. This is PwC. KPMG. Right? Well, they were calling and don't forget, there's good journalists out there. They somehow stayed in the system. A lot of them have gone independent. They were calling it privatization by stealth, where the government were outsourcing what was otherwise existing bureaucratical jobs. There is a good public service in this country. Yeah, there's a big fatty layer. Yep. But in the end, it generally is up to the manager. So if we get rid of a lot of those stupid, fat, ugly managers, we can let the good people on the ground call it teaching, call it coppers.
Cole, have you looked into one of the things that I'm curious about? Have you looked into like the public servant jobs that just sort of seem to be invented, and they're $600,000 a year, and they seem to go to people who are related or know somebody,
yes.
or like, and they don't really like when you actually look at the job application. It's very vague.
Very vague, and they're vague people. So if you look at your local council, they were calling it top heavy. And I know this because I was speaking to people on council when they did it about sort of 8 years ago, which is top heavy was they brought in top heavy managers on about anywhere from 260 to 460 a year. These men and women were useless. They didn't know their portfolio. They didn't know if they were in charge of, say, waste or roads or whatever, maintenance. They didn't know. They couldn't answer stuff. They would come out every second Friday and do a 4-slide PowerPoint and go back into their office. What they were there to do was to shoot things down, along with people like the EPA. They were there to shoot things down. So again, we know plenty of good teachers can do a good job. We know plenty of good coppers can do a good job, or nurses. But who's on top? Ministers with ministerial discretion. And it's through ministerial discretion that the courts, a lot of the courts are reluctant to rule against, because in the end, the courts aren't doing what they should do a lot of the time, which is ruling against politicians. So all politicians are doing are legislating over the top of common law, proper common law, case law, the written law, judge-made law, right? They're writing over it. They're writing over it, which is concerning because we'd rather have old men and women of the law writing the law than stinking politicians like John Skerritt from the Therapeutic Goods Administration, TGA, famously up against Rennick, etc., and other things, who went off and worked for Medicines Australia, and who sits on the Council of Medicines Australia, Pfizer and Moderna. And then you find them in there in bed with Melbourne University or was it Queensland? UQ, University of Queensland, who, as you all may know, just threw away the study they had on the people who've got vaccinated blood. Threw it in the bin. Pfizer had built a big building on their premises, though. And again, we look at vice chancellors. These vice chancellors sometimes are academics. Otherwise, they're generally people with business experience or politicians. And the academics are up in arms about it. And they're trying to casualize them because as we know, if you're kept as a renter, you don't have many rights. If you're kept in debt, you don't have many rights. You're vulnerable. And if you're kept casualized, you have far fewer rights. We're talking senior academics who are suddenly kicked away. They walk in and next term and their office is being cleared out. So these guys are up in arms. So don't alienate yourself from these people. Again, I'll go back to intent and function. One of the things is the devil drives division and confusion and introduces an incriminating element. That incriminating element becomes unattractive. It becomes objectionable to other people. Now, Dave, I think, touched on it before. They were saying that one of the biggest non-partisan election. In other words, people are moving away from the two-party preferred, which in itself is ludicrous that it exists, that it's been normalized, like America with this red and blue dichotomy. No, and they call it a hung parliament when you've actually got a bunch of independents in there that are going to agree on good policy and debate. So young people are moving towards it, but if people are made objectionable to those young people, then they're going to steer away from it and the Greens will get them all. And then remember, most people are in the cities.
Yeah, well, actually, I've seen a swing in the city as well, but definitely in the country areas, like we're hearing reports that 50% of the population are choosing anything other than the majors. Can I get your opinion on this? Now, this is Wales Integrity. He's had a look at YouGov polling results. He said that if 31.4% of the vote, Labor gets 84 seats, 31.1% of the vote, Liberal gets 47%, and it gets worse. 8.1% of the vote, Indies and Teals get 14 cents, 9.1% of the vote, One Nation gets 0. He's made the comment there, how is this representative democracy? Have you looked into that at all, Cole?
I am not exactly sure what this person's referring to. I haven't a lot. If I've got to know if I've looked into it, I've got to know more about what this person is saying and from where they've derived their information. So if we're talking about preferencing a bit, look, we've just seen Canada. We see unlikely people win. We see people lose the unlosable elections. We see Dan Andrews get back in a second term with an overwhelming amount back when he did, yet most of Australia won't let him on a golf course, most of Victoria.
Yeah. Most of Victoria.
So that
can't even build a house. He can't even build a house, and plus he's not allowed in the pub. He's like, people
they won't be able to walk down the streets. You see what they're doing to Carl Steimer over there at the moment, mate. They're chasing him down everywhere in England. It's unreal. And
right
that's
on.
what we need. Yeah.
Well, that's right. And you guys had seen, and this is why, where I got along with people like Dave O'Neiggs for a while. Look, I'm loath to think that Dave would have kicked me off for no reason. Often there's a little administrator there. But is that citizen journalism? Everyone has a phone a camera in their pocket now. We saw people approaching Albanese and that, and those nasty trolls he has around him, those little tough guys that, never seem to end up in the MMA ring, but they're tough when they got an M60 against a few old farmers somewhere, aren't they? Those nasty little private security people that protect Albo and everyone else. Who do you really serve, private security? Huh? Who do you really serve? So, yeah, I mean, it's good that people are approaching them. These people should not be able to walk down the street without being approached. Don't harm. Sure. Don't be menacing. Don't be aggressive. Don't be abusive, offensive, vulgar. That's why, me as an English teacher, I object to vulgarity as much as I can. Now and then I swear just for effect, but I shouldn't because it's not right for a teacher to do so.
Cole, can I just bring this in because I'd like to get your opinion on it or some comment on it if you have any. So this is Cassowary Coast Regional Council, and it's giving notice in accordance with the Section 142 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 that unless payment of all overdue rates together with any expenses incurred on the below land are paid, the said land shall be sold at a public auction on the 17th of May, commencing at 10 a.m. at the Shire Hall foyer. I think Dave reported yesterday that there are about 10 people in that area that are
10
just
properties. They've got all the properties, yeah.
Yeah, and they're basically, they're obviously like, everyone's struggling at the moment because a lot of people are, losing their jobs and whatnot. So they're not paying their rates. And then this council has done this.
Okay. I'm not, that's I see at the bottom, Innisfail there. So there'd be Queensland law to consider here, what they've written into law, Queensland case law. I'm going to start from the other end as well as devil's advocate here. Unfortunately, guys, this is what happens when some people adopt that crazed interpretation of what they call common law, right? This is what happens. You lose your house. They take it off you. Then court costs. Same thing with your car. You don't pay your rego. They do this to you. Yes, you may have the right or wrong. Doesn't matter. What does the law state? You're not going to find a magistrate or a judge that's going to disagree with it. There may be other avenues. So if these people haven't been paying their rates, there's other avenues. There would be, grounds for sympathy and et cetera, et cetera. But I can't comment too much on it, guys. I don't know. And I must remain strong to my own credo that, I remain evidence-based and stuff that I'm across. And if I assert something as in it might be anecdotal evidence, as in this is what someone said, this is what William Bay said, this is what Rod Cullerton said, they're just variables. I haven't created the theory yet. So I can't.
I'll speak my mind on it. All right. And that is the council has no jurisdiction, no authority, no jack shit to do anything except look after our roads, parks, and, whatever else. And yeah, as for, they've got a court set up now at Downing Street, the John Madison Tower, Downing Street, that actually deals with this sort of stuff. And what they're doing is they're handing out supposed court notices, all right, because they're acting out of a court, all right, to people and actually garnishing bank accounts and that. So they're well on the way. They've set up their own little, duty thing up in the courthouse.
Have they been given this sort of delegated authority?
Yeah, of course they have. Yeah. They can sign off on the warrants. They don't need a judge. They just, it's just all bullshit, man. It's crap. It's just got to stop.
So you need to agitate it in court. Have it. What's Pastor Paul's favorite word? Ventilated in court, because you might be able to knock them over with the judge. But again, I'm not across this, so I'm not sure. I know there are good and bad judges. My theory that's been formed via, the organised support and report crowds that we were getting along the court cases. And I myself attended a few. I tried to help people get along to Mai Lee Trin. She's the Vietnamese doctor, a Vietnamese Australian doctor, in Cambodian, I do beg your pardon, in Sydney, who's up against a bit like a Billy Bay type thing. And I found that there are both good and bad judges. Now, again, we go back to, is the person control opposition? Are they just nasty? Or are they in error?
There's good and bad judges. The problem is it's a bad system.
Potentially. I mean, a lot of it's written well, but again, you see, we're getting political interference with law. We're getting politicians with certain leanings and ideologies, whether it be those that are, adherent to the fossil fuel sector. There are those that, and this doesn't make me a steel windmill guy either, guys, right? I'm just showing you they're a traditional one, pig iron Bob Menzies for the iron ore. Yes, we need iron ore, but doesn't mean that he wasn't subject to lobbyists, pharmaceutical, all the reasons generally why a country will go to war. You look at those industries, petrochemical, they create the problem, the solution. There's microplastics in every drop of water in the world, including raindrops. now. That's a petrochemical industry. That's oil. And so there are, politicians like that writing law, and judges that are being more and more reluctant to overrule them, to remove what they call the mischief from it. But there are good judges. Look at the Shepherd case. South Australia, the childcare worker. In that case, they cited the Dorking case, which was my guys, the teachers, that won in the New South Wales Court of Appeals. Now let's have the plot thicken. The 3 judges, because you go before a full bench when it's the Court of Appeals, Supreme Court of Appeals, you go before the 3 judges. There's J.A. Gleeson. J.A. Gleeson, who I think is one of the High Court judges. So one of the ones that is being, criticised, not just by the freedom media, but the big media. But mind you, a lot of the big media has always been contrary to the judiciary. And I think she was in there potentially with, I think wasn't Jackie in a court case, had a court case crack recently, Caz?
Yeah, but that was with what was his name? Yeah, I can't remember.
There's a few court cases going on. We got plenty going, and we're going all right too. It's just that we're in a corrupt system, mate. The whole system is, the whole bar association is just bullshit as far as I'm concerned, and probably a lot of people watching. Nothing to do with us. It's all set up as a banking cartel, and that's all it is.
Certainly.
Take more money off the people.
Yeah. Look again, banking, fossil fuel. Petrochem, which is fossil fuel, agribusiness. So that's look at the Ukraine. It's going to the agribusiness companies, which is largely BlackRock these days. But Monsanto and Bayer, they're one now. And of course, pharmaceuticals. When Australia goes to war, they're Australia's interests, which is land and resources. Afghanistan's full of poppies. That's opioids, etc. Afghanistan, and oil in Iraq. It's always resources and land. Remember, as Lex Luthor says, because he always says, his dad always says, I'm always quoting Lex Luthor in this regard, though I prefer Superman, of course, is that land, it's the only thing they're not making more of. And so, that goes back to housing too, guys. If you want to go off and buy the farm with a bunch of people and create a unit trust, for example, where you pool your superannuation, self-managed superannuation, you can do that. 5 people or more, I think, or maybe less. You can just handle it. You better do it soon. 1.3 skilled Indian migrants over the last 3 to 5 years alone, which are being slotted into the bigger jobs because it's called replacement migration. They're trying to deny it, but it was a UN resolution document back in 2002 for the graying of Australia, or the graying of the world, because the baby boomers are all getting old. So rather than upskilling Australians and repairing the education system, which is basically as easy as letting teachers take over.
They're not allowed to do that. It's all by design. The New World Order is not going to let them do that. They're going to continue to tear down our society until we're a breaking point. We're not far off it. So,
Carl. Yeah, that's okay. Look, we've got a lot of things on this weekend. Can I just bring in the flyers now? That's for 2.5 minutes, so we can so that people know what's going on. And the Mondays at Maggie's crew is calling for tools down. It's time to stand together. A corrupt and tyrannical government is crushing industries, stripping freedoms and silencing voices. This affects every worker and every business. New South Wales under a corrupt government. Enough is enough. We won't stay silent and we demand action. So join us every Monday at the Governor's House in Sydney at 11 a.m. And Rocco is hosting an Election Day barbecue, 12 noon, Saturday the 3rd of May 2025 at Ewan Park Barbecue area. And Dr. Joanne Howe is organising another rally against the Greens abortion bill. This one will be on Wednesday the 7th of May at 5:30pm sharp at New South Wales Parliament, Macquarie Street, Sydney. And in Victoria, we have the following events. In Melbourne, gather at the Governor's every Saturday to end the tyranny. 10 a.m. every Saturday at the Governor Gates. And join the Justice of the People in Melbourne, every Sunday at 4:30 p.m. for a remembrance at the Shrine of Remembrance, lest we forget. And Mark McFarlane is having a campaign after party on Saturday the 3rd of May at the Wang Club, Wangaratta, 7 p.m. And there is a court call-out, Eric Lord versus Vic Police at Wodonga Courthouse on Monday the 5th of May. Eric is charged with assaulting a police officer after the police officer ran over his wife. The magistrate has admitted there hasn't been procedural fairness. And in Cobram tomorrow, there will be a Forest of the Fallen. It will be outside the Cobram Civic Centre polling booth at 10 a.m. And for the people, by the people, the people say no to 15-minute cities on Monday, May 12th, 6 p.m, Fed Square. Meeting in Fed Square at 5:30 p.m. sharp. In Canberra, every day for over 1,000 days, the freedom fighters have been protesting at the Governor-General's. To join in, meet at the National Rock Garden at 10 a.m. to expose the 28, or tune in on YouTube at hashtag expose the 28. And check out Dan Tilda's new t-shirt designs featuring the QR code, the event number of the witness statement documentary. A daily prayer space is held on X at 3 p.m. So whatever you're facing, come along and we can lift you up in prayer. Every day, 3 p.m. on X. Melissa 146233923.
All right. Good work.
That was cool.
Oh, yeah, we've got people doing a lot of stuff out there. It's unreal. It is
Our
unreal.
people are everywhere doing everything.
What was that court case in it wasn't Wangaratta?
Wodonga. That's Eric Lord versus the Victoria Police. The police came onto his property without any request or reason and ran over his wife and then tried to leave. And he's basically, allegedly assaulted them because they were trying to leave the crime scene. So anyway, that's been ongoing for a few weeks. So just
remember, let me know about these court cases because I'll get people along as best I can. I hope the Victorian Police, if these allegations are true, welcome such a process to help clear their ranks of this sort of behaviour and these sorts of persons. Because
we had a bus go from Queensland, a bus, go from New South Wales. Got a lot of support for them. Actually, it's been really good, mate. Yeah, the people have been brilliant.
Yeah, I've laid low for a little while, but I'm coming out swinging again now, and much more to come. I've been studying law myself. Did you know, by the way, the same thing that happens to the police, coppers, fireys, nurses, happens to TAFE also. Again, the bureaucracy doing things to harm was an otherwise very good system, rather than just letting teachers do it. Same old trick.
Yep, all by design.
Well, yeah,
hey, Cole, I have to bring this in for you to comment on as a sociologist because I've actually noticed this trend myself.
Politics for you. Who the hell?
Who the fuck is Nate Newell?
He loves dogs, heavy metal, and fixing cars. Fuck yeah, Nate. Let's go.
Mechanic promoting his own business.
Surely that's a fucking piss though.
That's so good.
Motivate.
Okay. Now, I've also noticed a similar trend in that people are so sick of the run-of-the-mill politicians. They're looking for someone with, three baby daddies and, and that sort of stuff, like just a complete and disestablishmentarianism worldview with regards to politics. But at the same time, transitioning into becoming interested in politics because everything's so bad at the moment.
Yeah, well, remember, birds of a feather will flock together. I call it the freedom clique of professional fundraisers in a kaleidoscope of just the same old crap that sees them all fed a wage, minimum wage of $1,000 a week, tax-free. We'll see. And Monavale's pretty rich. That's Northern Beaches. I wish good luck to the man. If he's a good man, I don't know much more than he likes heavy metal dogs and fixing cars. Sounds like one of my old buddies. But does it make him a moral man? Does it make him an appropriate leader? I hope so. Can you do worse? The education
he's taking the piss and promoting his own business. That's what I think he's doing. He's just getting his core flu out there.
Oh, he's not actually on the ballot. He's not actually on the ballot,
so.
huh?
I would say
Oh.
not. I reckon he's taking the piss, mate. Yeah.
You better watch out. But it's a smart move. Otherwise, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, look, education and qualification doesn't seem to be an indication of morality. You might make, be less likely to make an error in economics if you're an economist, or law if you're a lawyer. But what are most politicians? They're economists and lawyers. If they're not just a professional politician.
Liars, scumbags, and muppets. That's what they are.
Yeah, in the end. And there is no escape. And I ask people to very diligently collect information. How often do we say, oh, no, Pfizer's removed, they've scrubbed all the documents, or they've, wiped the Epstein files, or they keep removing it. Remember, we're in the age of the living document. And if I'm not mistaken, and if it isn't happening now, it will happen. And this is my prediction as a so-called futurist, which is also in the sociological thing. Is the living document. So say if you upgrade, it says, you got to restart. It says, you got to restart your computer. Who's to say that it doesn't now alter all the inconvenient information from every PDF in your computer?
Interesting. Well, you know what I find interesting as well is this kind of stuff. Now, Rod Cullerton has actually he says here, it's come to my attention that a document is going around the social media that claims that I have in my possession a Freedom of Information Act request that confirms that no document exists in order to remove the Great Seal of the Commonwealth, which was in fact removed by Gough Whitlam in 1973. He wrote, yes, this is correct. I do have this document. And as you can see, it is dated 2021. And in fact, from the Attorney General's Department. So you're talking about morality. And what I find just crazy is that they all know that this kind of stuff has been going on, and nobody seems to be doing their job to actually stop it.
No, well, they'll protect themselves. Again, call it the freedom clique if you like. Everyone go home, come back in a month, and I'm going to get $1,000 a week. Makes you wonder. Look, and you know me, I'm highly critical of the sovereign citizen stuff. And remember, as I say to you guys, and not you two, but anyone watching, no, you can listen to if you like. If the shoe fits, you may not describe yourself as a sovereign citizen, but if you have activated any of those incriminating elements, that if you want to refer to a document, have a look at the Assistant Director, I think he is, of the Australian Federal Police, Stephen Demetto, did a dossier on sovereign citizens. And you may not call yourself a sovereign citizen, but can you be described as a sovereign citizen?
They do.
Which is akin to a domestic terrorist. So beware of that. But look, as critical as I am of that, did you notice when Queen Elizabeth died that they came straight out and said, we bear allegiance to the King of Australia? And I thought,
there is no King of Australia.
Right, there is no King of Australia. I had a look. I actually looked up the Australian Constitution. And I can't look at it. It was a weird document that I've got because it's hard to get hold of the original document. But it was like basically at the last chapter, and it was talking about the oath and affirmation and what it is. And it said in brackets something like, the name of that king or queen queen, because it was Queen Victoria at the time of the Constitution. That may change from time to time, but it did describe her at the time as the sovereign, capital S. Which means, utmost authority, as the Queen of the United Kingdom, and in brackets, and Ireland.
Yeah.
So there's no Queen of Australia, to my knowledge, which they say, it's colloquial, but this is why the law is the law is the law, and it's called the letter of the law, and that's why it's 600 damn pages to read one of these bastard things, because it goes down to the letter of the law. It doesn't bother with these colloquialisms, so Albo can talk about Vegemite. And you know how a politician's favourite insult is that's un-Australian? What the hell is un-Australian even mean anymore? Because what does Australian mean?
What's un-Australian is the government we got running this place and the lobbyists that we've got fucking actually putting the acid on them to get all this bullshit New World Order stuff passed through. So, yeah.
Globalism.
Again, all by design, guys. All by design. We stop it. That's the only way it stops.
Yes, it's globalism, right? So you may know, anyone that didn't hear me last time, I worked with the Australia Project for a while, It was Lance and Kent Brown. Now, these guys turned out to be two developers from Queensland and what I suspect to be some sort of federal police. Now, they have a lot of inside information about people. Pauline Hanson, Malcolm Roberts, Monica Schmidt. Kent knew everything. He knew everything about everyone. Depends on how much is true. Mind you, when what Kent said about Malcolm Roberts was circulated around the room in Melbourne by Monica Schmidt and her friend Kayla, which she doesn't want to answer to, Malcolm Roberts certainly bolted real quick. So, and from what I saw, it seemed to be indicate that it was true. I don't mind Malcolm Roberts, but he keeps sidling up to Monica Schmidt. So I'm going to leave it till after the election until I'm not as nice.
I don't like any of them.
Well, Cole, you're a firebrand as always, taking pot shots at everyone, and people seem to love you for it.
They deserve it.
That's awesome.
They deserve it.
We've been taken out by Jag Talks tonight, and it's a tribute, another Anzac tribute called Beach, Sand and Bullets. Cole, if you'd like to have your final words, and Dave, if you'd like to close the show.
Okay, thank you. Look, remember, politicians have got two main goals, privatisation and digitalisation. So that turns into transhumanism. Call it privatisation of the Australian house, real estate market, farm. Remember, as this kaleidoscope, which is a kaleidoscope's a bunch of lenses of little mirrors looking in one another. That's the freedom movement. As they keep you there, making you as objectionable and unattractive to the other side. Do you think you must make amends with the herd, with the majority, right? People go, don't forget. Yeah, don't forget, but do forgive, right? Because remember, they saw as many people as those of us that knew the truth about the vaccine went, you silly zombie, you're going to spread a bunch of spike proteins. They saw the opposite. Phenomenology. That's what they thought. That's how they understood the phenomenon. So understand that. Bring them across. Don't be unattractive. Don't mention things of the single incriminating element of terrorism, of a neo-Nazism, of treason, or of lunacy. Just stupid theories, right? Look after your food and water. Get with the farmers. Get with the farmers. Most of these people outside of Wade Northhouse and some others are not talking about protecting the food and the water. Protect the farmers, you protect the water, because water is irrigation. If for the Christians out there, check out the professor. His name's Professor Patrick Parkinson. Have a look at what he's been saying on the gender stuff. Of course, the Cass review and the big UK ruling showing what we've been saying all along. Again, Department of Education, Prukara in New South Wales. What have you got to say for yourself? There are some good people in the election, guys. Remember, for those that aren't going to vote, I want you to consider something. And, I know how you guys feel about this, but I want you to consider something. What part of the population do you represent? 1.4, 0.04, right? What did Ricardo Bosi get in New South Wales? 0.004 or something, right? What do you think you're going to do by not voting, aside from attract a fine? What you can do is maybe get someone like Dr. Andy Schmulo from the Citizens Party, who I don't agree with on nuclear energy. There's no such thing as good, clean nuclear, but he is the one of the lead associate professors of law at University of Wollongong. You watch this guy go. Rod Carlton, right? He's yet to be proven outside of what Billy Bay says. I know years ago he was helping farmers, and he did go after straight into Parliament. It was George Brandis who got rid of him. Michael O'Neill, the Heart Party. Andrew Wilkie. So we go on the other side. So the guys that didn't come with us on the vaccine. Andrew Wilkie, he's the guy who's been trying to protect the salmon. And Rex Patrick, the Freedom of Information King. Rex Patrick continues. He needs help in South Australia, guys. Get out there and help him. Your few votes may be enough to get him into an electorate. If we can get a hung parliament, actual democracy, it's on.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Cole. Dave, if you'd like to close the show.
Yeah, guys, I just watched some stuff today, being around the Anzac Day and that, and I watched some stuff today on, like getting into France and D-Day and stuff like that, and some original footage of it, guys, all right, how they floated the tanks in and done this and done that. And I tell you what, that was a banker's war, running both sides of the war, and what they done to your forefathers was just absolutely insane. We had young kids at 16, 15, lying about their age, right, to actually sign up because of the propaganda that they were given. This is the country that they won for us, guys, all right? And I don't think anything is going to go too good for us tomorrow. I hope it does, but I just see the writing on the wall. It's going to be stolen. They're going to do what they want, and they're going to continue to bring the New World Order in on us. So just have a think about it, guys. These guys at 17, 16, 15 went and got out of boats on a shore where they knew they were just going to die. They were just going to run into fire. But they done it. And that's why you still got a country at the moment. So it's time to come together, guys, all right? And that's the freedom movement. That's the whole of Australia in unity, because these guys are going to fuck us over tomorrow, I can tell you, okay? That's what's going to happen, because they do it every time. So it's time. I hope that I hope they do, simply because I think the population's going to wake up then, you know? So, yeah, let's see what happens, guys. But let's just pray that God's with us. All right. And it's going to get bumpy, I reckon, because, yeah, they're going to do some drastic stuff. They're going to steal it. And then they're going to start, while we're all squabbling about this, that, and the other, you watch them go, guys. All right. They'll be taking your freedoms off you quicker than you freaking believe, because that's the type of people they are. So have a great weekend, whether you're voting or not voting. I don't care what you do. Okay. But get out there with the Forest of the Fallen. Get out there. At the election booths, even go and get your name scrubbed off, guys, and then do the, scrub out bit. But, start the conversation. All right. We got to get it talking. All right. We really have to get talking out there, because the people are waking up. Tomorrow's going to be farcical. Tomorrow night will be farcical. We can already pick the result, probably. I think I'm wrong. But anyway, we'll wait, because I'm saying Dutton. But anyway, we'll see. Who knows? It's whoever they pick. And I can tell you who's picking it. The lobbyists, guys. That's who's picking it, all right? With the likes of Israel, Mossad, NATO, and the deep state. That's who's doing it. Have a great weekend, people. Love yous all. Bye.
Good night, guys.
Boys became men as they boarded the ships. Fear on their faces, the nerves, their trembling lips. Doubt turned to bravery as they hit the beachhead. They stepped into hell, and by nightfall half were dead. Amongst beach sand and bullets, they stood tall and brave. A world and a nation, freedom to save. The pride of Australia, they never turned back. Fierce, full of courage, they are our Anzacs. Crouched in the trenches, on a whistle they'd storm up the beach. Fear overcome by courage, the enemy lines to breach. They fought with rifle, their lives in their hands. Some were victorious, some fell in a far-off land. Amongst beach sand and bullets, they stood tall and brave. A world and a nation, freedom to save. The pride of Australia, they never turned back. Fierce, full of courage, they are our Anzacs. A legend was born on Gallipoli's sand. Men made of steel from a sunburned land. Heroes whose deeds are etched in our heart. Men who gave us future because of their past. Amongst beach sand and bullets, they stood tall and brave. A world and a nation, freedom to save. The pride of Australia, they never turn back. Fierce, full of courage, they are our Anzacs. Every April the Anzac memory fills up our head. We remember the heroes, the wounded, the dead. How they fought for all with never lest we forget. They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget.